Okay, this is one of my all-time favorite stories, and you can pass it along to your classroom if you're having a hard time with exactly how to do this, how to read this. That's why I put this all on video, so that you can actually see how I do it and the inflection and stuff as if I'm talking to a classroom. And you get down there, there's a link for a transcription of this video. So everything that I say will also be written out, and so if you don't want to even watch the video, you can read everything, because some people like that better. So you might have heard this story before. I don't know. I don't even know where it came from, but it's one of my favorite stories. Two men, both seriously ill, occupied the same hospital room. One man was allowed to sit up in his bed for an hour each afternoon to help drain the fluid from his lungs and whatever was wrong with him. His bed was next to the room's only window. The other man had to spend all of his time just flat on his back, just laying there. That's it. Couldn't see anything. The men talked for hours on end. They spoke of their wives and families and their homes or jobs, involvement with the military back in the day, when they had been on vacation and all that kind of stuff. Every afternoon, when the man in the bed would sit up, he would pass the time by describing to his roommate that couldn't see anything, that couldn't get out of bed. He would describe all the things that he could see outside the window. The man in the other bed began to live for those 1 hour moments where his life, his world would be broadened by all the activity and color of the world outside. But the other man would describe this. The window overlooked a park with a lovely lake. Ducks and swans played on the water while children sailed their model boats. Young lovers walked arm in arm amidst flowers of every color, and a fine view of the city skyline would be seen in the distance. As the man by the window described all this in exquisite detail, the man on the other side of the room would close his eyes and just imagine this picturesque scene. One warm afternoon, the man by the window described a parade passing by. And although the other man, he couldn't hear the band, he could see it in his mind's eye, and the gentleman by the window portrayed it with such awesome descriptive words. Days, weeks, and even months passed by. One morning, the day nurse arrived to bring water for their baths, only to find the lifeless body of the man by the window. He had died peacefully in his sleep that night. She was saddened and called the hospital attendants to take him away. As soon as it seemed appropriate, the other man asked if he could be moved next to the window. The nurse was happy to make the switch, and after making sure he was comfortable, she left him alone. Slowly, painfully, he hadn't been able to do this before, he propped himself up just on one elbow because he just had to take a look out the window and see all this amazing stuff that this guy had described to him. The real world outside. He strained to slowly look out the window beside the bed. It faced a blank wall. There was no view at all. The man asked the nurse, why would this guy do this? What compelled this guy, my friend, my roommate, who had described such wonderful things outside the window, what compelled him to do that when there was nothing? It was just a brick wall. The nurse responded that the man he was blind. He couldn't even see the wall, much less all of the stuff that he described. She said, perhaps he just wanted to encourage you. Here's the lesson to be learned in this story. There's a tremendous happiness that we get when we make others happy, despite our own situations. Here's one of the best lessons I've ever learned in life. If you want to make yourself feel better, whenever you feel bad, whenever you find yourself in a bad situation, whether it's in the hospital or whether your girlfriend or boyfriend just broke up with you, you failed a test, you didn't make the team, your parents are arguing or splitting up, or whatever it might be, whatever woe is me you're going through, if you want to make yourself feel better, make somebody else feel better. If there's one word that can describe happiness, it's the word others. Do for other people, and your life will be tremendously fulfilled. Happiness comes through making others happy. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Make it count. Okay, now for some quotes. Quotes are a great way to connect with students. You can either say them, you can play them at like me saying them, or a great way to do it is just to write them on your on a PowerPoint or whatever you're delivering, your overhead, the chalkboard, or those fancy touchscreen things that everybody has now. So whatever you guys want to do, but quotes are an excellent way to connect with students. We used to have a teacher that would write a quote of the day, and every single day you come in and you see the quote written up on the board, and it actually got to be something that we all looked forward to, because she would find quotes that were relative to what we liked, and they made us think. And sometimes she would find quotes from celebrities that we all looked up to and things. So here's some of my favorite quotes for this month, as I've seen recently. One of my favorite ones is the one that I've been using a lot lately, and I've even put it on a t-shirt. It says this: "Don't follow your heart, lead it." And it actually makes a pretty cool t-shirt, because on the front it says "Don't follow your heart," and on the back it says "Lead it." Because a lot of times, people say, follow your heart, just follow your heart. Well, your heart can get you in trouble. So lead your heart. Okay. Another one of my favorite quotes that I've seen recently is, "Sometimes good things fall apart so that better things can fall together." One of my all-time favorite quotes comes from one of my all-time favorite movies, from Braveheart. "Every man dies, but not every man truly lives." Somebody asked me one time, what's the meaning of life? And the only answer that I can come up with, really, for that silly little question, but that people ask all the time, the meaning of life is to live. Live, not just be. So many of us just walk around and we exist, but we don't live. Do all that you can do. Make the biggest difference, the biggest impact that you can possibly make. And here comes that quote again. Every man dies, but not every man truly lives. Great quote. My son's wanting to play baseball, and I was reminded of Tom Hanks in League of Their Own. And this is a great quote for all walks of life. "It's not supposed to be easy. If it were easy, everybody would do it. It's the hard that makes it great." And of course, the biggest quote from that movie that I passed along to my son is, "There's no crying in baseball." And a cool quote that Steve Carell said, he's one of he's the star of The Office, he's one of the greatest comics around right now, he said, "Nothing makes you feel as good as laughing incredibly hard. So laugh, laugh, laugh." Steve Carell. Okay, here's two of my favorite quotes right now. They're both from Lady Gaga. She is an incredible artist, and a lot of people like her, a lot of people don't, but you got to respect what she does. And the first one is this: "Peace. It does not mean to be in a place where there's no trouble, noise, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in your heart." That's awesome. All right, here is another quote. "Some women choose to follow men, and some women choose to follow their dreams. If you're wondering which way to go, just remember, your career will never wake up and tell you that it doesn't love you anymore." That's a great one. I wish all girls would follow that advice. Here's another one that you could just pass along to any of the girls you have. "Guys are evil. Boys are evil. Stay away from them."